Hey y'all, welcome to my first ever PC build. I don't have any experience building computers. My laptop died and I had it on my to-do list that I really wanted to build one. And Height came out with the Y70 strawberry milk colored cases around the time that my laptop broke. So I just thought, you know what, why not go for it? There's another video that I've posted that lists all my parts on PC Part Picker, so I will make sure that I add that little um, link here so you can click on it if you want to see what parts that I have. And this is going to be more so like a journey video versus a tutorial video because honestly, I didn't know what I was doing. I made some mistakes, and so it's more of a vlog than a tutorial. The things that weren't in my parts list video, you just saw that I had some pink Velcro ties. I also got a regular like manual screwdriver kit. And then this was an electric screwdriver that I got. Honestly, it wasn't very powerful at all. I really could only use it to remove the screws when I took out the GPU stuff. So I don't really recommend this one for a PC build, especially if you have a height case, because I realized that the height case doesn't really need to be unscrewed from the outside. They've kind of made it so things just pop out, like all of the glass and things like that. So you'll see that here in just a little bit. The first thing I did, because I watched so many PC videos, was to get my motherboard ready to go. And I knew that this was going to be the first part. So I was super excited about it. You can see that I got an anti-static mat and the grounding bracelet. I don't know if I really needed this, you guys, but I was just playing it safe. It was my first time. So um, if you are someone who's building a computer for the first time, you can just leave it on top of the box, like when you're building. Once you take it out of the static proof plastic, or you can put it on a grounding mat like this. So it was so pretty. I knew that I really was so right in wanting to do this build when I finally saw the motherboard and got to touch it with my hands, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know, I just really geeked out. So I was so nervous to put in the CPU. I was like terrified. But I tried really hard to watch a lot of videos. I had like four or five different um, creators who I watched on YouTube and a few on TikTok before I got started. And I had them all along the way. I went through like in between all their videos throughout the process, as well as the manuals for my specific parts, because my specific parts weren't always exactly the same as somebody who I was watching in a different video. So I tried to like do both at the same time. And I'll just add too that this probably took a lot longer than somebody who like builds computers all the time or who has a lot of experience, just because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have anybody help me, and I was doing a lot of the research like in real time. So as you can see, I was really taking my time and I was trying to show y'all what I was doing. So I made sure I knew where everything was supposed to go, read the instructions 30 times, was terrified I was going to break all the pins. This was so terrified. But I lined up the little arrows and then in we went. And then I popped it down. I knew it was going to take a little bit more tension than I thought it would based on what everyone had said. And that the top part was supposed to kind of pop off, which it did. And I was so excited. I was like milestone one. And then you guys, I pulled out this this RGB RAM, and this was the beginning of my problems. Because what I didn't know is that I ordered this from my list, from my PC part picker list, like directly from Amazon, and it ended up being the wrong RAM. So what I ended up getting, and I knew where the RAM was supposed to go. I just wanted to double check the manual to get in the habit of doing it and everything. And I knew where the RAM was supposed to go. I knew it was supposed to line up with the slots. I knew you were supposed to unclick the little clips on the side, and when it went in, it was supposed to like pop back into place. And yet it didn't work. And it didn't work again and again and again. And I was so like, oh no, I'm gonna break my motherboard. As many times as I tried, and I even I looked up some Reddit threads. I was like, why isn't this working? I asked my husband, and I knew something was wrong, but I thought it was just me. And when I asked my husband, he came over and he was like, well, it looks like it's just too small. And I was like, you know what? And I looked up a Reddit thread again about sizing, and I found one that said, I bet you got the DDR4 instead of the DDR5, depending on what motherboard that you have. And that exactly was my problem, was that I should have gotten the DDR5. And so I was just so excited to start this build because my kids were with my mom, although you can probably hear them in my background now because they're here now. But they were with my mom, my husband and I were by ourselves. And like this was the time that I had like in silence to really get the tougher parts of the build out of the way, because I was doing it on my dining room table because it was like the biggest space that we had. And I knew that if I waited until my kids got back that I would end up just trying to keep them away from all the parts and the things that they could knock over or break. So I was really determined to like finish this. So I ended up having to go to Best Buy. They had closed. They closed like 20 minutes after we got there, but I looked it up online and they did have the DDR5, and also Amazon made it super easy to return the DDR4. I literally just had to like tell them I wanted to return it. They sent me a picture of a QR code. I went to the UPS store. I didn't have to like wrap it up or anything. UPS was just like, "Oh, let me scan the QR code," and they took it, and that was it. I didn't have to pay for anything. So it was super easy to return from Amazon. So as you can see, I got the correct DDR5. It's the same. It was the same brand. It was the same RGB RAM, but it was the right version for my motherboard. And as you can see, I got both of the sticks in. I don't know if I actually showed because there was, you guys, at some point I was getting so tired that I don't even know. I went from like filming with my iPhone stand to filming with like, I had one of those neck stands so you guys could see more of like a POV, to like having it on my ring light stand. So I don't even know if I filmed putting in my SSD. I don't think that I did, but it's at the bottom. I put it in at some point and I peeled off most of the plastic that goes on here, and those were the only things I had to do with the motherboard. So then I had to look up a few videos because I wasn't sure how you got the glass off the height case. I know that probably sounds crazy, um, but it just people weren't explicitly clear how the glass comes off, and honestly, the glass just pops off. Like you can see me kind of struggling with it because at first I was looking for screws and stuff. There were no screws. It pops out and then you lift it up. So I then took off the styrofoam stuff to get that out of the way because it was blocking where my graphics card was going to go. I was kind of afraid I was going to like break the little graphics thing, and it I didn't. So before I put in the motherboard, then I put in my bottom fans. I have three at the bottom. Hyde actually had a really great video on their YouTube that showed me how to do this because they had configurations for like all types of fans on in that video. And for this one, you have to screw in the middle fan first with the like the bracket cover off. Screw the bracket cover. Well, hold on, let me back up. You have to put the middle fan in and screw it in. And then you put the other two fans on the left and the right inside without screwing them in, and then screw that bracket on the outside back in. Then you can screw them in like you see me doing here while the bracket is on. I don't really know why it's like that. I think it's because as you can see, like the outside fans don't get screwed in, like all four don't get screwed in. I think only two get screwed in on each, or wait, three get screwed in on the right, and then I think three get screwed in on the left. So just remember, all the fans can go in with the bracket on, but the middle fan gets screwed in before you screw in the rest of the bracket, if that makes sense. If you guys need me to make another video on that for any reason, let me know and I'll see if I can find the clip of where I did it. For some reason it's just missing in my arsenal right now. But that's how it looked at the bottom. They were so cute. Also, later, mentioning all my mistakes, I will realize that I screwed these fans in upside down and I will have to take them out and redo them because the pretty part is supposed to be at the top because that's the part that people see. Not that it really matters so much with the bottom fans, but like I noticed a lot of mistakes on the aesthetics as I went along and I corrected them. So just in case you see it, I probably saw it and fixed it even if I didn't mention it. There is a video of my computer, my finished PC, like at the very end. So if you still think I messed something up by then, I guess let me know. So yeah, then you just want once you screw the bracket on, or once you, I guess you like kind of pop the bracket in. I shouldn't have said screw it on because those bottom big like screws that you saw are the ones that really like keep it on. So once you get those in, then you can flip it back over. And this was the part I was also kind of nervous about, and this was putting in the whole motherboard in the case. It wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. You can see me counting all of the little spaces there because that's where the screws would be going in the motherboard. They kind of fit into those little well, I forget what you call them. They're not brackets, but bezels or like something like that. So, anyways, you essentially like take your entire motherboard and you lift it in here. I think some people took out that little bracket for the GPU, which has those little three, cords. I mean, those three cables coming out of it. I didn't take it off. I just pulled it out a little bit. This was just me showing you guys all the screws that came with the motherboard, and that they were all labeled really nicely. Honestly, I was surprised that like I don't know. This took longer than I thought it was going to take, but it wasn't really as hard as I thought in terms of like keeping up with the screws and everything like that. Like the each of the brands that I got got the parts from, they pretty easily like described everything, had everything in their manuals and stuff like that. So I don't have any complaints like on that front. It was all pretty seamless. The hard part for me was honestly like all of the cable management. And again, that is why this is not a tutorial, because you will see me fumble with the cable management. Look at me, I was so terrified. I was like, girl, don't let your hair touch this. Don't let this touch your pajamas. What are you doing? Oh yeah, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I changed into my pajamas after I came from Best Buy because I was like, I need a shower, I need a mental break. I'm already tired and exhausted from this. So I did put my like grounding bracelet thing back on for this because I was like, oh, I'm still touching the motherboard, so you can see it like fit nicely in there, and you can sort of see like in the top left, and then the bottom right, like there are some very clear circles. I think there was maybe 9 of them, and all I had to do was just screw all of them in to keep the motherboard secure to the case. I'll just remind you guys that I'm using the manual screwdriver for this, and I got a little bit closer so you could see. Um, and my screwdriver did have like a magnetized, all of the heads were magnetized, so that way I wouldn't drop all these small screws. This one was honestly the best one that I got between this one and the electric one. And I just wanted to mention that you shouldn't use electric screwdrivers on like the motherboard directly or any of the parts directly, just in case you overdo it and like break, like over tighten or something. So honestly, just because of the power, like I mentioned, of the electric screwdriver that I got, I ended up doing the manual one for basically everything anyway. But I didn't feel like it was that terrible. And along the way, I realized that the motherboard had some like shiny stuff on some of the things. Like I'm pointing at it. That I was like, oh, I probably should take this off. And it was probably in the manual and I didn't read it. But anyways, I ended up taking all of those things off at some point. But this was just me screwing things in. I was feeling really productive at this point. You can see that nothing has broken. I'm like watching my videos, like it's going pretty smoothly now that I got the RAM situated. I haven't had any major issues. And I'm like really excited about the next parts of it because I believe the next thing I did was my AIO cooler. And that one, I changed that around a bunch of times because I put it in backwards at first, which you'll see. And also, like, just a side note, this cooler was so tough to get because I had ordered like the 2024 version of this cooler from Amazon, and like I like put my whole build off waiting for it to come, like a week off, and then it never came, and apparently it was never in stock. It was this whole thing. So I ended up again Best Buy to the rescue. Like this same day, this morning, I had gone to Best Buy and I had gotten this one because I saw that it was in stock on their website. So I just did curbside pickup and I was able to get it and cancel my order from Amazon and get my money back for that. Or I don't think that they charged me because it hadn't shipped yet. But anyway, so I ended up putting this together. It was pretty easy. It was literally just putting the fans on top of the cooler and then screwing it in. But like I said, as you'll see in a little bit, I end up kind of putting it in backwards because I mean, maybe it wasn't backwards, but it just looked like every other person I saw, that they're like the big cords you can see right there for the cooler were not facing the direction that I had put them in. So I didn't learn that till later. The other thing I wish I had thought about, which I don't think you could know without experience, was like how to wait to do cable management. Like as long as the cables are all coming out in like similar directions and everything's not bulky, I think it's fine, because at least for my personal preference, it was a lot easier to cable manage at the end. Because I felt like along the way I'm trying to like keep certain things together, and then by the time I'm done, there's new cords added, there's things facing in different directions. So I wish I had just waited to do all of my cable management at the end, because I tried to push through and finish the build on this. Like, I think this was night one. Maybe I'm pretty sure this was night one because I ended up doing this over 3 days. Like one longer day, a second day that didn't take as long, and then the third day I literally just like finished doing cable management. And that was only, it wasn't a whole day. It was like maybe an hour or something like that, or even less. Um, but by the time I got to like the GPU, which you'll see, like I was getting really stressed out about all the cables and where they went. But I found some really great creators on YouTube that took the time to like break down cable management by coolers, by the different fans, and how like the motherboard controls worked versus like the controllers worked and things like that. I will say that I didn't spend a lot of video footage on cable management at first. Like this is probably the longest section you'll see cable management, and I'm speeding it up because it started to get to the point where I was like plugging things, unplugging things, reading the manuals, and I was like, oh, this is not going to be useful for anyone to watch. So I just stopped recording it. And you can see that I was like watching. I watched this creator a lot that I have up on the screen, but then I also was like back and forth between like some other YouTube videos and like even like the manuals and websites for the products because I was just very confused. But I think that's also just because I probably should have done more upfront research about building a computer, but I don't think I realized just like how much would have been helpful to know about each of the individual parts. But also it kind of made it more fun to like explore it, along the way. It probably would have been fun like if I had a buddy to build with or if I had like streamed it, but I really wanted this to be like a personal thing that I did cuz I don't know if you guys like watch any of my other content on on any of my other platforms, like maybe you do or don't, but like I work a full-time job. I'm a mom, I have 3 kids, I'm a wife, and I don't really do things for myself. I rediscovered gaming during the pandemic and I started streaming on Twitch. And then shortly after, I started a TikTok that, they've been gaining some traction. And not only just like just rediscovering the love of gaming, but like finding community in gaming is like the only thing that I really have time to do for myself because it's something I can do from the comfort of my home. And I've been to school. I have like a bachelor's degree. I have a master's degree. I don't really plan to go back to school for anything else. And so I don't know. It's hard to feel like you've accomplished things when you're kind of at that point in your life where you're just like, I'm settled in my career, I'm settled as a parent. I'm not in my case, I'm not having any more children. And it feels like, what can I, if you're a gamer and you like quests, like I'm a quest girly, like what's the next quest that I can do? Because my quest log is empty. And so I just really wanted to feel like I accomplished something all by myself, and I really appreciated that my husband didn't like try to step in and be like, let me help you because you're struggling. He said, like, I want you to do it by yourself. And if you asked me, I would have helped you, but I knew it was important for you. So, anyway, let me stop yapping. Um, you can see I finally put the cooler in. Like I said, to me, this is backwards. I don't know if it's necessarily backwards, if you could do it how you want, but everyone else had it the other way, like where the thing was on, like the big cords were on the other side. So this was me doing the cable management for the cooler. Which was a little confusing because I didn't so just crazy, but I didn't realize that there were little plastic or like little styrofoam or something like covers on some of the prongs on the motherboards. I was like looking for where these things went, and I just had to pull off those covers in some instances. But it's kind of good I didn't really mess around with this too much because I actually ended up switching to two or three different like kind of control panels from NZXT, and I think the one that I had from the fans that I got that were like I think they were like Vetru fans, and I ended up having all my fans be controlled like from that one place versus putting all those individual um, cables on my motherboard. I don't know if that will make sense, but maybe when I show you my cable management at the end, it'll make more sense. But anyway, so I got the cooler in, at least the fans part of the cooler, and then I was getting ready to put in the actual like cooler LED display, which I'm so excited about because I mean I could have got whatever cooler, but I really wanted this display because I love efficiency. I love making sure that things work properly, but I'm also an aesthetics girly, which is why my case, I really wanted this pink case, and the LED screen would allow me to like put whatever characters and stuff I wanted in there, which you will eventually see. Spoiler alert, that it is right now Kakashi reading Makeup Tactics. So anyway, figuring out the cable management, as you can see, was kind of a pain. But the other thing that happened with the cooler was that you see that little gray circle on the back? That's the thermal paste. And it took me so long to like be able to accept that this was thermal paste because everywhere else that I saw where people were applying their own, it wasn't pre-applied. It looked like paste, like a gel type situation, like super glue. And so the website for NZXT and like everybody I saw online said, don't worry, it's already applied. But I guess I just expected it to look like paste and it didn't. So there you go. So that went on. I got to take off the little shiny cover because I was like, oh, I'm done. Even though later I ended up flipping it around because again, it was not, those little cords were not facing the right direction, at least. And maybe it wasn't, the word is not the right direction, but I wanted more space on that side of the case, or I thought it was more aesthetic if the cords were facing on the other side. And even if I rotated it, it still wasn't like doing what I wanted to do. So I ended up taking it out and flipping it around, which was just not a fun process, but I did it. The next thing that you're going to see is me drastically trying to figure out where these cables are supposed to go on the motherboard. I think I might have said it earlier, but you can see that there's these little like covers on top of a lot of the prongs. And I was like so scared I was going to break the motherboard. And it was also like the daylight was gone out of the day. I had like my ring light, but I also needed this headlamp because if you haven't ever seen a motherboard in person, like there's little words over a lot of the prongs or areas where you can put things or whatever. And so I wanted to be able to see. Um, and I had the manual because I was like, oh, where do all these go? And again, it would have been so much easier if I had just waited to do all of the cables at the end. Like when I had everything put into place, just feed the cables through the back to get them out of the way, and then figure out where they're supposed to go on the motherboard or if they're supposed to be in the back of the case, and then manage them at the end. But hindsight is 2020, and this did get me a lot more familiar with my manual for my cooler and with the cooler itself, as well as with my motherboard. So I'm not going to complain. Then along the way, I was posting my progress on some different social platforms, and the responses I was getting was like, "Cool, but why is your cable management so terrible so far?" So I was convinced I needed to like manage my cables along the way, which proved to be a very futile experience. So here's me fumbling around with it for a minute, and these small things like this one, and when you saw me earlier with like the bottom case fan stuff, this is the most you're gonna see of me messing around with cables, because I think at some point I just got really tired of filming me messing up and redoing it, and I just decided to show the cable management at the end. But that is also why this is not a tutorial video, and it's a journey video. um so also, I'm putting in my PCU. Hype makes it super easy to like put everything in because everything is labeled. But just so you know, you're gonna see like the next view is of the front of my case, and I've already put my back fans in. I actually like just forgot to film that, I think, in like trying to get it all this done in the middle of the night. But it was the same process as putting in the bottom case fans without the little bracket. So you just put the fans up against the back of the case and screw them in. That was pretty much it. Then this is me working on my GPU. It was really pretty. It was like the only pink GPU that I could find, and I considered a white one, but this one was just like really adorable. So before I run out of time, I just want to mention that I did end up finishing all of the other, parts being installed that were supposed to be. I ran into like a few slight issues, like with my hard drive. I thought that it needed to be screwed in with all the screw slots that were in like the casing that Height had for it in the back of the case. I only was able to screw it in with one screw, and that was actually fine because my case was compatible with the hard drive. I just thought I was going to have to screw in with all of those. So I ended up being able to plug that in and it worked. The PSU was already in here. As you can see, I think I had screwed it in at this point. Another thing is that I did end up connecting all of my fans, except for the cooler fans, to the Vetru fan hub that those white fans came from. So I ended up being able to connect all of them to that. And the reason why that was good is because it allowed them all to be synced simultaneously. So all the colors and things for all of the fans in my case, except for the ones that came with my cooler, can be the same color, can react to the same sounds, the same way and stuff. And then the cooler fans, of course, as you saw, had their own little hub that they came with. So they look a little bit different. But I like that because I think it adds like some variety to my case. And then I finally did get the GPU in. But you guys, like, I think there's something to be said about knowing when you have had enough of a build, like when you're building something for the first time. Because I was really tired here. It was like 2 a.m. or something, and I should have went to sleep, but instead I got myself very confused and turned around about which cables were supposed to connect to my GPU. And I had the right cable, but I thought I didn't, and the PCU. Not the PCU, but my extension cables were the only ones that seemed to fit. And I knew that wasn't right because you should really use these like main white cables for all the important parts and stuff. So yeah, I ended up just going to sleep and waking up the next day, and my husband helped me. I thought I was going to need help because maybe I just didn't know what I was doing. And then I realized that actually I was just tired because he found the right cord right away. And then he was like, okay, you can finish now. So I'm about to be at the end of showing you guys the journey, and I'll give you the live reaction video of if it turned on and what happened in just a second. But if you've watched this far, I just wanted to say thank you for following along. This is the first time I have posted on YouTube in a really long time, and this is the first video that I've posted that's long form, really, that's been about like more of my PC and my gaming journey. So I hope you'll stick around, consider subscribing and liking this video or sharing it with other people who are building a PC for the first time. And here you can see my beautiful cable management with my pink cable ties. I did my best. It was really nice that like the NZXT hub for the cooler up there was magnetic. Loved that. But the height case was like super spacious and everything, so I didn't feel like anything was like hard to fit in. And I was really pleased with myself and happy with how the build turned out. So now I will stop talking and you can see what happened once I put the all the pieces in place and plugged it in. What if it doesn't work? Okay. So if I turn on the power is on, and now I have to actually turn on the case. spinning. Hold on, hold on. Can't get too excited.
The ones on the right are not spinning. The
Yeah,
ones at the
only-
bottom are.
But the lights are on, so the lights are fine. But that means
Wasn't there a button for them? Like I
the
saw some.
RGB header is not right for this one. So I need to put this one. Okay, let me see now. Oh yeah. I can do it. I can do it. Look how pretty it is. Now I have to put the top back on. Yay! Okay, so this was actually pretty simple. This just popped on. Now I can put this back on. Now we can peel off the plastic. Is there plastic on this? There's plastic on this too. But I don't know how to get, okay. Plastic. Okay, and then I have to put on the glass for the front panel, which goes like this. But I also need to take the film